Ooh, good morning, Canada. Would you like to wake up to the most annoying noise in the world?
We will take no lesson from the Conservatives. No lessons from the Conservative. On this side of the aisle, and all Canadians, we believe in this country, Mr. Speaker. Canada is the place where we attract talent. Canada is the place where we build ships, we build cars, we build planes. Canada is the place where we have critical minerals. Canada is the place where we have energy. Canada is the only country in the G7 with a free trade with all other G7 nations, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build Canada strong. We are the true north, strong and free, Mr. Speaker.
How that guy's ever allowed to stand up and speak is beyond me. It's like forks in a blender. It's like cats in a microwave. It's like nails on a chalkboard times 1,000. But here we are. That's our finance minister. Oh, boy. We're going to talk today. Good morning. The first sip. We're going to talk all about the Donald Trump stuff. Everything that's happened over the last couple of days with Donald Trump. Yes, we've avoided it for a couple of days, but we're ready now. Now that we know that question period has happened. Now that we know that Mark Carney's back with absolutely nothing. Now that we know he's left somebody down there, but apparently not the people he told us. And of course, he kissed Donald Trump's feet again. You can't make this stuff up in Canada. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
President, if I may, you kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The
what
merger
you created
of Canada
no,
and the
what
United
you
States.
That wasn't where I was going.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we'll go soft on him today because I know he's still recovering from surgery to have his elbows removed. Remember that promise, Mr. Speaker? Dancing around with his elbows in the air. We haven't seen those elbows since the election, after which $54 billion of investment gone to the United States. 86,000 jobs gone. American tariffs on Canada doubled. And as to the best deal in the world, why is it then, if we have the best deal, that Canada has the fastest shrinking economy in the G7 and 86,000 people are without a job?
Good morning, Canada, and welcome to Bakes on Things, the first sip. We're thrilled to have you here. It's Thursday morning. We're almost to the long weekend. And wow. Boy, we need to really stop pretending, don't we? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, have a conversation about all of this down below. But 2 days ago, Mark Carney walked into the White House promising progress, and he walked out with nothing a Canadian family can actually spend, build, or hire with. He smiled, he praised, he called Donald Trump a transformative president who's transforming the U.S. economy. Whoa, wait a minute, liberals. I thought you told me that our economy is better than theirs. And then, without a single signed concession, he flies home. No, nothing on the steel tariffs, choking our steel, aluminum, lumber, autos, and the thousands of jobs tied to all of that. We got vibes, though. The Americans kept leverage. That's what they kept. That is not diplomacy or negotiation tactic, but I thought he was the master negotiator. Guess it's just brand management. What we did here was nothing. Instead of a deal, we got nothing. We heard that Canada is the largest foreign investor in the United States. We heard that we poured $500 billion into America in the last 5 years. And guess what? If we play nice in these negotiations, we'll send them $1 trillion more over the next 5 years. Excuse what?
Well, we now know why the U.S. president wanted this prime minister in power so badly. A weak leader whose high taxes and anti-development laws are sending billions of dollars and thousands of jobs out of this country. 86,000 jobs lost. And yesterday, the prime minister promised the president that he would increase Canadian investment in the U.S. by $1 trillion if he gets the agreement that he expects to get. Mr. Speaker, in exchange for $1 trillion of job losses in Canada, will he at least get an end to the U.S. auto tariffs that are killing jobs for our workers in Ontario?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have
the best deal in the world with the Americans. First point. Second point, the President of the United States and myself had a meeting of minds yesterday with respect to the future of the steel sector, the aluminum sector, the energy sector in cooperation, which is why our teams are negotiating the terms of those deals. And we are working, as the President himself said in the Oval Office, on the modalities of an auto agreement.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he just confirmed he's selling out our auto workers. And let me tell him what it means when investment leaves this country, because he was forced a record amount out in his 7 months in power. The 700 workers at the GM plant who lost their jobs in Oshawa, they can tell him about investment that is left. They're sitting around the dinner table wondering how they're going to pay their bills while GM announces $4 billion of new investment south of the border. So while the Prime Minister promises yet another $1 trillion gift to President Trump, why doesn't he look them at those workers in the eye and explain to them why he betrayed them?
Imagine bragging in the middle of a trade squeeze that our money builds their factories, their supply chains, and their prosperity, while Canadian plants idle and small towns wonder how to make payroll. That's not very much leverage there, Mark. What kind of negotiation is this? It's surrender with a smile. It's a press conference confession that our growth strategy is to fuel your growth strategy, Donald? What happened there? What was that? And please, Liberals, don't tell me the plan is we left our best people behind, because we did that all summer. We've seen that movie before, and it was a terrible movie. Ottawa announced that maybe it was Dominic LeBlanc or Anita Anand, but she was in question period yesterday, so who stayed back in Washington to keep talking? But these are the same revolving door meetings that produced communiques instead of outcomes all summer long. If this duo or anyone else had the keys, the door would be open by now. Washington understands one thing and one thing only, and that's pressure backed by power. Ottawa keeps countering with patience, backed by press releases and nothing more. That's not a negotiation. It's a waiting room for a doctor that's never coming. Here's the truth. Here's the truth you will not get from the flattering photo ops. Trump is perfectly happy to keep Canada on a short leash. It's why he was joking around. He was having fun. He was jabbing. Wants to be a great guy too. He talks about Canadians loving America again. He floats separate deals that would fracture USMCA. And he keeps the tariff screws tight while we keep flying back and forth for another smile and press conference. He can afford to be charming because he's got all the cards. He's holding everything. And because our side keeps putting them on the table first. What kind of a negotiator did we elect here? And here he is standing in question period yesterday, trying to defend all of this like he did something heroic. It's the worst thing I have ever seen. What makes yesterday uniquely offensive is the whiplash in question period. For months, the government has warned Canadians about traveling to the U.S., fueled a narrative that Trump's America is unstable and unwelcoming and unworthy of our dollars. Then Carney gets his Oval Office moment a couple of days ago, and suddenly Trump is a transformative president, doing transformative things to his economy. A once-in-a-generation leader who deserves our praise and apparently our capital flows as well. What the hell was that? Which is it? Is the U.S. a threat you campaign against, or a savior you serenade when you need a headline? Pick a lane, Prime Minister, because Canadians can smell the hypocrisy from Sarnia to St. John's. That's what we saw 2 days ago. And yes, them getting along looked great. And at first I was like, hey, this actually might work out. But it's not. Because worse, that $500 billion already? $1 trillion more? What? That line tells every investor in Canada exactly where the real action will be for the next 5 years. And it isn't north of the 49th. If you're a global capital allocator, you just heard the Canadian Prime Minister declare that the best returns on Canadian money will be in the United States. But he knows that because he's invested in Brookfield. You don't have to be a bond trader to decode that signal. You build your plant in Ohio, not Ontario. That's it. You expand your warehouse in Michigan, not Manitoba. You hire in Buffalo, not Brampton. And when Canadians ask why their towns are hollowing out, Ottawa will point to a future framework, a working group, or a task force, something a consultant suggested. The bureaucratic rosary beads they finger when the prayers stop working. And look, we've done this dance many times before with the previous prime minister as well. In 2018, when the last round of tariffs and renegotiations hit, Canada gave up dairy market share and killed Class 7 to get a deal. Remember how permanent that pain became? The lesson should have been very clear. Concessions for peace buy time, but they don't buy prosperity. And every inch you give is an industry you weaken for a decade. Think about that. Yet here we are, nodding while the U.S. toys with separate deals and sector pickoffs, and our government tries to sell capital flight as statesmanship. In question period yesterday, Mark Carney talked about building the Canadian auto sector, but he said the very opposite, or allowed at least Trump to say the very opposite when sitting in front of him. If you really want a history lesson here, let's go back to Smoot-Hawley in 1930. U.S. protectionism triggered retaliation and rewired global trade patterns altogether. Canada pivoted, and we paid for it. Protectionism always promises greatness at home by squeezing friends next door. When your answer to that is, we'll move our investment there and hope for mercy, you're not negotiating anything. You're normalizing dependency on the United States, and dependencies don't end with kindness. They end with terms and conditions. And that's what we've got here. Watching question period yesterday was a nightmare because every time the Liberals stood up, they tried to defend this gong show they've created. Here's the core indictment. A prime minister who spends months warning Canadians off the U.S., then flies to Washington to flatter the very man imposing new tariffs and new tariff threats on our trucks, our metal, our autos, and then flies home empty-handed again is not defending our national interest. None of that is defending our national interest. He is managing his media narrative. He is banking on the public's exhaustion with all of this, not on policy wins. It's diplomacy as content creation, and it's killing our leverage. You want a real strategy? Stop touting outbound investment as if it were a gold medal you just won. Make it expensive to leave and irresistible to stay. Why would we not take that approach? I thought this guy was a businessman. That means regulatory certainty measured in days, not years, energy costs that reflect the resources we actually have here, and a tax code designed to build factories, not fund panels on all of this information. Pair that with targeted counter tariffs that hit swing state exports where it hurts, and a procurement policy that buys Canadian first until Washington plays fair. That is how you move a White House needle. That is how you move the White House that only respects strength, by being a partner when it pays and a problem when it doesn't. And about those officials left behind, put a clock on them. What are we waiting on here? Publish sector-by-sector deliverables with deadlines measured in weeks, not quarters, to get something done. Steel and aluminum relief, or a published phase-down schedule. A written pathway on autos that removes uncertainty for model year planning. Real timber rules that end the scam of permanent temporary tariffs. And when those deadlines slip, change the names that go on the plane. That's it. This is not a university seminar. It's an economic knife fight, and it needs to be attended by the ones who can actually win it. Canadians are tired of the theater. We don't need another podium by Mark Carney standing in front of staged construction workers or moved in fake homes. We need a price list. What it will cost the U.S. if they keep squeezing, and what we will bring home if they stop. We need a prime minister who understands that praising a counterpart is free, but policy is the only language that matters in Washington. Yesterday, 2 days ago now, Trump spoke that language. He floated separate deals. He kept every lever within arm's reach, Carney spoke marketing. He sold our outbound investment like it was coming from a brochure. Only one of those approaches changes outcomes, and by the way, it's not Mark's. So here is the call to action. If Ottawa won't fight for Canadian workers with timelines, penalties, and a credible domestic investment agenda, then Canadians have to force the issue. Demand to see the negotiating asks in writing. We haven't seen anything yet, just that they're negotiating and that something will come, but nothing ever comes. Demand the sector deadlines. Demand an end to the victory lap pressers for every empty meeting. My goodness. And the next time you hear a prime minister brag about shipping our capital to the United States, you might want to ask him a simple question. How much of that money would have stayed if your policies made Canada the better bet? Because that is the scandal at the heart of the meetings 2 days ago. Not that there was no deal, but that our government is so numb to the idea of Canada as a destination for growth that they now openly celebrate being America's supplier of capital. What kind of partnership is that? That is policy codependency, and it ends the same way every time, with the junior partner carrying the bags while the senior partner sets all the terms. That's how it works. I'll finish where I started. 2 days ago, were a masterclass in how not to negotiate with a superpower that respects only outcomes. Compliments are free, Mark. Concessions are expensive. Canada paid once in 2018. We seem to be forgetting that, and we're still paying now. If we keep treating trade like public relations, prepare to pay again, this time with your plant, your paycheck, and your town's future. The Prime Minister can call Trump transformative all he likes. The only transformation Canadians care about now is the one that turns talks into wins. Until then, stop flattering the man holding the tariffs and start building the country that doesn't need to beg for relief. And for the love of God, get your message straight. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things, The First Sip. We'll see you again at 6 o'clock tonight with another new episode. Appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful Thursday, and we will see you again this afternoon. Have a great day.